If you haven't noticed, there's a wind of change blowing through business today. It's a groundswell of change that we believe here at BizVision is for the better. Yes, I know the saying that change is the only constant, but the change I'm talking about within business is more, let me say, inner. Businesses are becoming more conscious, becoming more aware, seeing and understanding their responsibility. But this change cannot be ordered online from a supplier like Amazon. It has to come, we believe, from within and be a committed culture. In our pursuit for you in understanding all things consciousness, our aim is to find you the foremost thinkers. My guest is one of those celebrated thinkers. Welcome, David Schwerin.
Thank you very much, Malcolm. My pleasure to be here.
Welcome to you, David. And you're in Philadelphia, I believe, today, and we're in Northern England, but we're still socially distanced quite well, aren't we? David, the conscious agenda is both wide and current, from mindfulness to capitalism to compliance. You've written two authoritative books, Conscious Globalism and Conscious Capitalism. What's your thinking within them?
Well, the first book I wrote was Conscious Capitalism, and in it I've taken ancient wisdom, universal principles, and shown how they could be applied to business to make the business function better, be more fulfilling, and more prosperous. And I think if you, they're fairly common principles, but if you apply them, things work better.
Yeah.
In the case of conscious globalism, I expanded on the first book, and I took it into the psychological realm, showing that we all have different parts of our personality. To simplify it, some part of our personality is focused on what's best for me. We'll say me thinking. Some part of our personality is based on, or is focused on, what do they think, based on how we're being perceived by others. And then another part of us, a more enlightened part, knows that there's no separation, what's best for all of us. And by taking those three simple ideas and looking out throughout the world at different social problems, environmental problems, economic problems, political problems, I showed in the book how the type of thinking that I described, the me, them, and us, causes most of the problems if we don't think of us, if we think about only us, only ourselves or someone else. So that's the basic premise for both books.
Yeah. Do you think we are a selfish society then?
Well, part of us is, and we have to become aware of it. Part of the problem is we're not even aware of it in many cases. And once we become aware of it, then we can change it if we want. And I think more and more people, especially what's going on today, more and more people are recognizing that we're doing things that are too me focused, too selfish, and not thinking about the whole.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, David. And that's why I think it's quite an exciting time. We're on this cusp. I said in my opening piece that consciousness cannot be ordered online. I know, a bit facetious I was there, but I firmly believe that true and committed consciousness is inner. You may refer it to as the soul. I think it's the soul of the business. What's your thoughts here?
Well, my belief is, or my understanding, I would say, is that consciousness and energy are the only two things in existence. They create everything else. And our soul, which I've spent a fair amount of time studying, although it's a little esoteric, I admit, is composed of energy and consciousness, and it creates us out of that. Remember, we're spiritual beings having a physical experience. And sometimes we forget that. Matter of fact, most of the time we forget that. As I described in my book, Know Your Soul, Bring Joy to Your Life, knowing about your soul helps you to know about yourself, which helps you to know about how to go about living, what you do in your work, what you do in your life, in your relationships, in your family life. Because your soul has a task. It wants to accomplish something, and you're the ambassador, so to speak, or the representative of your soul. So the more you know about your soul and the more you know about what its task is, the more you can follow it and the more fulfilling your life and easier your life is.
I like that thinking because I've always been thoughtful in my personal thinking. I'm going to go where I want with my soul, whereas I think a lot of people are easily diverted into other people's thinking.
Yeah. And remember, we have free will. We don't have to follow anybody else. We can make our own mistakes. And we learn from them. So, you can either take the easy path or the hard path. And I try to explain in the book what the easy path is.
We're always learning, aren't we? Forever. With so many challenges and uncertainties in the world constantly hitting us and a constant wave of negative media, how can the new business leader rise above this and steer his or her company in the right direction?
Well, the first thing I would say, which is very hard, is don't get caught up in the drama. There's a lot going on, and it's hard to forget about it or separate yourself. But to the extent you can, that will make it easier. But we have to still function in the world. I mean, I don't try and dispute that by any means. But the universe is friendly, and there's nothing to fear. And fear is our biggest enemy, really. It's what causes us to grab guns, which is crazy. It causes racial problems, which we're seeing come up. So we have to avoid short-term thinking and focus on what's best for all of us. And you can avoid a lot of the problems that are here and that we have to deal with, but we can do it from a distance rather than getting caught up and getting very stressed out, let's say.
You mean we allow ourselves to be sucked into these situations? Yeah. Okay. In my work for companies, I say to them that today customers are not interested in what the company does or makes, but instead it's who the company is that counts. Now that goes back again, in my mind, to the soul of the company and its purpose. When I tell hardened business leaders that this is the way forward, many often look at me as though I'm some sort of unwanted missionary. What do you think has to happen to get that hardened traditional leader to change? Or will it be a new breed of leader that will cause the change?
Well, my experience, and I think this is accurate, is everyone does what they think's in their best interest. And there's mounting evidence that what's in our best interest is treating everybody fairly and following the golden rule, make it really simple. In fact, the Business Roundtable, which is a large organization here in the United States, large global companies, CEOs of large global companies, they recently, about a year ago, put forth made a press release actually that committed them, these 100, I think there are 180 some CEOs, committed them to benefit all stakeholders, customers, employees, suppliers, communities, shareholders. In other words, and this is the first time that I'm aware of, and I wrote my book in 1998, so I've followed this for a long time. It's the first time that large company CEOs have committed themselves to following a social responsible business practice or corporate social responsibility practice. So they're doing it because they find that there's evidence that it's good, that it works, that it makes sense for a business. So that's one answer to how we're changing and viewing things differently. Now, as far as the younger group is concerned, you're right on that they are more open to new ideas and new approaches. And they're also looking around, they're seeing this world's a mess. And they're saying, I'm going to bear the brunt of it. And we got to change. So they're not going to, they're going to come forward with willingness to make changes that some of us older people find harder to do. So once we get this critical mass, whether it's a combination of younger people and more enlightened older people, let's say, things will change and fairly rapidly. But right now, it appears to be snail's pace for most part.
I have to say, in the UK, we're moving fast. We're moving through corporate responsibility into social value. And the Social Value Act is very much to the forefront of businesses now in the UK, primarily in many cases because 20% of the points in a procurement contract will go to your social value. And so businesses are quickly starting to understand that they need to not just adopt this, but to embed it. Yes. And that's quite exciting.
Yes, yeah. I agree with you.
I personally like to think of myself as a global citizen. I know some countries have their own agendas, which may not fit in with the thinking of others, but surely tolerance is what we should seek if we are to be truly conscious. You spent many years working with China, a country now viewed with suspicion by others. What did you discover in those years that we all should understand today?
Well, like you mentioned, I've been to China 9 different times, and starting in 2001. So I've been there over the last 20 years. And it's changed dramatically from when I first went there. But what I have discovered is we're all more alike than different, whatever country it is. I'll focus on China in a minute, but I've been to 50 different countries, and so I've seen that. We all have similar fears, desires, motives. And so if you strip away, the religion or the color of their skin or all that, we're humanity, we're human beings, and we all have the same needs and desires. So we have to also remember that in many cases, the citizens and the leaders are not, you can't compare them or can't say that they're the same. The leaders have one agenda, the citizens have another. And so in China, I have made friends with many people there, some of them very high-ranking Communist Party members. They all want the same. Now, the leaders have a slightly different agenda. They want to maintain power and influence. And some of it is influenced by past experiences. Like in China, they were dominated by other countries for a number of years. So it's only natural in some respects that they want to make sure they're not dominated again. In fact, they would rather be the dominators in some respects. But the people are just like you and me. There's no difference. If you look at it that way, if you separate the political aspects from the common everyday living, you'll find that we're all the same. And you'll understand, if you study it, you'll understand why the leaders do what they do. They're worried about social unrest. And so do leaders in every country. They worry about social unrest. They worry about being reelected. We're all the same.
Yeah.
It comes out slightly different, maybe more pronounced at some places than others, but there's not really basically anything different.
So you're really saying, we should all be considering humanity first and foremost.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Just before we move on, I hope you're very much enjoying the conversation that I'm having with David, all my viewers, and just to see behind me the URL for you to go to get further details on David's books. Now, Okay, David, business viewers to this channel have arrived either out of curiosity or because they seek and are becoming committed to change. What three core spiritual things should leaders be thinking about now to make their business, let's call it, fit for the future?
All right. Well, that's a good question. And I'll keep it fairly simple. The universe is based on balance. But because everything is moving, which is really a second principle, everything is moving, nothing stands still. Some things get out of balance. And that applies to your personal life, to your business life, to your cultural life. And our job is to bring it back into balance. And first of all, we have to be aware there's out of balance. And then we have to make the changes that are required. And so I would say to your audience that look at your own life, look at your business, look at your family life. What places are out of balance? Where is there an inappropriate domination or subjugation or whatever? And how can you make changes to bring it back? And because everything's moving, everything is changing, the status quo is not possible. Some of us would like to remain in the status quo and fight for it. And but that's not the way the universe works. So be willing to go with the flow. Don't cling to old ways or resist new ways. Realize that things are constantly changing, and that's the way it's meant to be. And try and adjust. And we all have problems with that. It's not easy, but your life will be better if you can do that. The other one is even simpler, is that we're all one. We're all connected. We're all interdependent. And the sooner we realize that, the less conflict and problems we'll have. And so, they're really very simple, and we all know them, but we don't all follow them.
I was just thinking there as you were talking about that, I don't think you can remember that film, Stop the World, I Want to Get Off. You can't, can you?
Right. No, and that's one of the things that I have been working on for a long time, quite honestly, is this idea of surrender. Things happen in life, and some we like and some we don't like, but they happen for a reason. Everything is purposeful. Mm-hmm. And we learn from everything. So whatever is occurring is to help you. Remember that, it's to help you and to not resist it and not to cling to the old ways, and things will be a lot easier.
Excellent. Yeah. David, final question. I like to give all my guests 3 wishes. If I was to give you 3 wishes for the future of mankind, what would those 3 wishes be?
Well, the one that I've tried to follow for quite a while, because it's not completely easy, is to know yourself. And it's not easy, because when you start doing that introspection, you're going to find some unflattering traits that you have. And often that just stops people. They don't want to go there. But by learning about yourself and what you see that you may not like will help you to realize that you got to make some changes. And so my wish would be that people do that introspection work to learn about what's going on within them, why they decide what they decide, why they do what they do, and then see whether it's creating what you want, because this world is all our creation. And so we either, if we don't like it, we have to change it. So that would be my first one. The second one, I guess, would be to find out how you can best contribute to life. That's where your fulfillment will come from. And that's, Again, not necessarily real easy. You don't get a roadmap when you get here. But to the extent that you can ask for help to get that, it'll make your life, again, easier. And then really a combination of these first two maybe is that follow the golden rule. How can we follow the golden rule? In my second book, Conscious Globalism, I listed 12 different cultures that all had some variation of the golden rule in it. So this is not a selective saying. It applies to everybody, and it's used throughout the world in all cultures for a reason. It's important. It's simple, but it's important. And one variation that I think maybe helps or gives a different angle is what we do for another, we do for ourselves. What we fail to do for another, we fail to do for ourselves. Gets back to we're all one. We're all in this together. We're all connected and interdependent. And if we can think along those ways and terms, again, our life will be much more enjoyable.
I thank you very much indeed, David, for a superb interview. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.